It's difficult to imagine a more literal metaphor for the obstacles of peace than landmines and unexploded bombs currently beneath Gaza's sand and rubble. Each one is a relic of violence, a silent threat to the living, a physical expression of political failure. And then this week, the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has announced that Britain will provide £4 million to the United Nations Mine Action Service, UNMAS, to begin the slow, technical and profoundly human task of clearing those weapons. According to British and UN estimates, around 7,500 tonnes of unexploded ordnance litter Gaza. That is roughly 10% of the 70,000 tonnes of munitions dropped on the territory since October 2023. These are not abstract statistics. They are dormant killers embedded in streets, schools, hospital courtyards, obstructing the delivery of food, water, medicine. Every aid convoy that hesitates, every child who steps in the wrong place is a reminder that war doesn't end when the guns fall silent. Miss Cooper's visit to the Halo Trust in Wiltshire and her upcoming mission to the Middle East highlight the intersection of diplomacy and practical compassion. Britain's decision to fund demining may seem modest compared to the billions spent on defence, but it is an act of moral seriousness. Halo and the Mines Advisory Group, both British NGOs, are responsible for clearing nearly 70% of all civilian landmines in the world. Their expertise saves lives, restores farmland, and makes the return of displaced people possible. Indeed, this is something that was highlighted by the late Princess Diana and by her son Prince Harry. The £4 million for Gaza will fund British and UN deminers, equipment and public education. That last component is crucial. Half of mine casualties worldwide occur when civilians, often children, try to move debris or collect scrap metal. Education prevents tragedy long before the detonator is reached. Beyond the technical challenge lies a deeper political symbolism. Landmine clearance is not only a humanitarian duty, it's a precondition for any meaningful peace process. The Foreign Office has said that the safe passage of aid is a vital component of the US brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and clearing the ordnance allows aid to move and communities to rebuild, but it also creates a physical space for dialogue. It replaces fear with trust, quite literally removing the ground level barriers to coexistence. And this work has a moral dimension too. In Christian and Islamic traditions alike, to clear a path for another person is an act of mercy. In the book of Isaiah, the prophet declares, "Prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for your God." The determiner does exactly that. The deminer does exactly that. Not in metaphor, but in dust and steel, kneeling with steady hands so that others may walk safely again. Each mine removed is a small resurrection, a restoration of ground to human purpose. Politically, Miss Cooper's initiative also represents a subtle but important recalibration of Britain's Middle East policy. It signals that humanitarianism is not secondary to diplomacy but integral to it. After a year of unprecedented destruction, the UK's credibility in the region will depend on whether it can be seen not merely as an ally of Israel or as a broker of American interest, but as a state committed to rebuilding the conditions of peace. The task, however, is immense. Experts estimate that even with the full international cooperation, clearing Gaza's unexploded munitions could take years. Access to certain areas remains contested. Israeli restrictions on aid convoys, justified by concerns over Hamas's control, continue to slow the entry of personnel and supplies. Cooper's challenge will be to persuade all parties that mine clearance is not political theatre but humanitarian necessity. Historically, Britain has played a leading role in banning anti-personnel mines. The Ottawa Treaty of 1997 was championed by British diplomats and by Princess Diana's unforgettable visit to Angola. The images of her walking through a cleared minefield changed global attitudes. Cooper's funding pledge evokes that same humanitarian legacy. It's a reminder that leadership can be measured not by how many bombs we drop, but by how many we remove. There's also a message for the public. Peace is never clean, quick or cinematic. It is granular, painstaking and often invisible, and the deminer's world is one of millimetres and patience. It requires courage without glory, precision without applause, yet it is precisely this kind of work that restores dignity to a broken land. As Cooper herself said, we must do everything we can to flood Gaza with aid. To flood Gaza with aid means first to drain it of fear. That cannot happen until the bombs are gone. The £4 million pledge is not the solution to Gaza's suffering, but it is a beginning, an effort to reclaim ground from violence and to honour the idea, however fragile, that peace is built from the ground up, one mine at a time.